All right, folks, I'm headed to the office. We're going to go to Reddit for a question. This is from CS Career Questions. Sorry, I'm not even buckled in yet. Let's get that figured out. The Insta360's going. I don't know if it's charged. We'll see what happens. Where's this Reddit question? Come on, phone. Holy crap. Okay. Experienced devs that were once uncertain about their career choice. Did you get over it, and how? They say, I'm a senior in college, have great job offers lined up. Awesome. It's great news. There are roles I never thought I would have offers for, but I still feel mildly dissatisfied. If money was not a factor, I would have done something in healthcare, in therapy, or in education. Obviously, there are horror stories in both careers that are considered as well as the lower pay. Regardless, my career choice has given me some anxiety as I'm unsure if I have chosen the right fields. Anyone felt like this? Or is this a non-issue that I'm giving too much importance over? Speaking is hard for me. So I thought that would be maybe interesting to talk about. I didn't have any questions lined up because I think I got through 3 of them yesterday. But good reminder for folks, if you want questions answered, that's what my entire channel is about. I am happy to try and answer the questions that you submit. So you can leave them in the comments below, or if you want to be kept anonymous, look for Dev Leader on social media, send me a message, and I will try my best to get your stuff answered. So this is an interesting one. I figured I would start by talking a little bit about my own career, maybe at different points where I felt uncertain, and then kind of talk about, I don't know, like where I see people talking about uncertainty right now, maybe some career switch kind of conversations, and go from there. So this might be a repeat for some people that have watched other videos of mine, but I put out a lot of videos. Put out like 10 videos a week, so on this channel alone. So there's got to be some stuff that's repeated, so I apologize, but there's always new faces coming around. And as much as I want to assume that all of you just binge watch all of my videos, I realize that's not the case. But we can change that, right? But yeah, for me, like, I started off by going to the University of Waterloo for computer engineering, and I remember thinking, like, as someone that was in high school, I was like, I like programming, I feel like I'm pretty good at it. And I remember talking to my father, who was in the tech industry. He ran his own company, that I guess, like, whatever, side story on that whole thing. But I guess when I was really little, I was like, oh, I'll probably get this company that my father has when I grow up. But that's not really not really how that panned out. It's not really something that if he handed me today, I would not take, because it's kind of just like, it's not something that he continued to scale up. So anyway, his perspective was always, hey, like, if you want to be successful, you got to go the hardware direction. Everyone does software, but you really got to focus on hardware. And I remember thinking, like, I don't know, like, I'm just a kid, right? And I think this is probably a common thing for most people that are kids. Like, you try to make a decision about your future, and you're like, I literally don't know anything, and that's that's okay, because spoiler alert, no one has any idea what they're doing at all, ever. And most of being an adult is just a bit of a facade for, look at me, I know what's going on, but no one actually knows. So no pressure. I decided, okay, if my father knows what he's talking about, I should at least make sure that I'm going to school and having some hardware components in my education. And the other reason I went to the University of Waterloo was because I wanted to, in Canada, so I'm originally from Canada, to have a professional engineering designation, you need to go to an accredited university program. You need to go take an ethics test. You need to have work experience under an engineer. There's a lot of requirements. So I said, if that's what I got to do, like, I at least have to go to an accredited school, an accredited program, and and start with that, right? So given that they had internships, like a co-op program, that was a huge sort of plus side for me. So I very quickly learned, though, that by going to school for computer engineering, I absolutely hated school. I loved the internships. I thought the internships were amazing, but my internships were developing software. So the first time for me on my career journey where I was like, man, like, did I pick the right thing, was school. And for a little bit more context, the way that my school was set up, like my education was 4 months of school, and then we would have a 4-month internship, and I did that for 5 years. And there was only one point where you do like 2 school semesters back to back, but otherwise it's schoolwork the entire 5 years, no breaks. And I would have my school semester, and I would be like, man, like, what am I doing? Like, I've definitely picked the wrong thing. Like, this is so dumb. Why am I wasting my time with this? It's so hard. It's not interesting. And then I would go do my internship that would be, programming almost exclusively, right? Software development. And I would do that, and I would be like, man, like, this is what it's all about. Like, I'm so excited to be able to graduate and do this. And then I would go back to school and kind of keep having this experience where I'm like, oh, I hate everything about this. I just realized too, I have to get gas. Okay, well, we'll do that. Doesn't matter for you because I end up editing it out, so just means I have to edit it out. But I guess I have a 360 video going too, so I have to edit that as well. But yeah, that was the first kind of point in my my career journey where I was like, I actually don't know if I've picked the right thing, and I felt conflicted because, I was told like, hey, you gotta do the hardware stuff, right? Hardware is where the money's at. And I'm like, okay, well, man, if I gotta succeed in my career, I have to like hardware, but I absolutely hated it. Anything that was like, and it's weird, in high school, I was like, and this isn't, I'm not trying to like boast about this, but like physics, math, all this kind of stuff was very like trivial for me. I didn't have to work hard at it. It just kind of happened. And then I got to university and I was like, I can't stand any of this. I'm terrible at it. I want nothing to do with it. I never want to solve a circuit. Like, get me as far away from this as possible. Like, there was no way that I was going to be doing that as a career. Not a chance. So, going through school and having this kind of like situation where I'm like, am I doing the right thing? The nice thing was that as I was progressing through school, having the more internships, I was like, I kind of realized by the end of the 5 years, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to be going and doing hardware. And I picked a program at least. It's in, engineering background. There's still software development in computer engineering. And I was like, I didn't totally screw this up. I've got the internships. They're all software development. I think we're doing okay. So getting out of school was kind of like this moment where I'm like, okay, at least I feel like I've so far not messed this up completely, but time for some gas. Okay, so the next kind of phase after this thing is the absolute most annoying beeping sound I've ever heard. After school, I started work at a startup company, and it was in digital forensics. And I think the next moment, and it was fortunately very brief, but the next moment where I had like did I make the right decision kind of thing going on, was I started at this company. I remember talking with the founder, who was the CTO, and being like, wow, this seems really cool. Good mission. It was a startup. They were already profitable. So like everything about it seemed like, hey man, like this seems like a really interesting opportunity that I stumbled upon. Like, okay. But I remember it was like, I don't know if it was like the first day or the first week or something. It's digital forensics, right? How much how much education do you think I had around digital forensics? If you guessed approximately 0 seconds of education, that's correct. Sorry, SUV behind me, not giving me enough space. We don't like that. Yeah, I didn't have any education in digital forensics, and I can remember like the first, and look, they're gonna come past me now. Talking with my manager, and he sat a couple of us down. He was like, okay, like, do you guys know about these file system types? And it was like, absolutely not. I have no idea what this guy is talking about. And I just remember thinking, like, did I just make a really big mistake? Like, I just got hired at this startup and I have no idea what this guy is talking about. And kind of this oh crap moment, right? This is also when people think about like imposter syndrome. This is probably one of the first, not the first time in my life, but probably one of the first times in my actual career where, because it was very early in my career, where I was like, this feels not good. And I would say it wasn't even imposter syndrome. Like, I would have been an actual imposter at that point because I didn't actually have any experience in digital forensics, right? And I didn't have knowledge about how file systems and different things like that worked. So yeah, kind of this oh crap moment. But I think along the way, you know, I did realize quite quickly that I really loved the type of work I was doing. So, you know, to this person's question about like, you know, did you realize this, or are you still on the fence kind of thing? Yeah, I knew pretty early on after working full time, I was like, yeah, absolutely, like being a software developer is 100% for me. You know, and I guess I'm very fortunate, so I don't like talking about this stuff as in like everyone will have this experience. And I also am not trying to like brag about it either. I try to highlight this because sometimes when I read stuff on the internet, people are very much like, oh no, like you're basically gonna start working and hate your life the entire time. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, sorry if that's been your experience, but sorry, here's my experience. And I did not hate my life the entire time. Yes, there have been hard periods of being a software developer, especially at a, you know, rapidly growing startup. It was a lot of work, but I love doing what I was doing. Then probably the next time in my career where I had like this I don't know kind of thing is really, and I've talked about this before, transitioning more from like a IC to manager. So at that startup, they basically made me a manager very early. So I've been managing engineering teams now for almost 13 years, and which is almost my entire professional career outside of like internships. And there was a point, like the first 8 years of that, were what was like a technical manager role. So I was coding alongside managing engineering teams, and yeah, having to kind of, I guess I didn't have to make a decision. I didn't have to pick between the two, but getting to this point where I was picking, like, do I structure my career more around leadership and management versus being a programmer? And like, that's a kind of a scary step. I don't know why we're going so slow in the fast lane. And you kind of have these doubts, like, you know, I think one thing for me, especially like going from a startup where I was doing that to Microsoft, where, you know, completely different, because now I have like remote teams. I don't code at all anymore. I'm not part of, I don't know, like I'm not actively working in the code base or anything, whereas before, like, I had created a lot of the code base from the early days. So just a completely different dynamic, and then just being like purely like people management, people leadership, and not writing code, and just kind of feeling like, shit, is this the right move? Right? Like it's a big departure. So, and that's over the last 5 years. Now, you know, at this point in time, like, and I'll wrap up my story and kind of go back to some general thoughts on this, is like, at this point in time in my career, I think before I die, because I probably will work my whole life, because I like making software. It's just enjoyable for me. But at some point before I die, and there's probably a period of, like, I would call it retirement, where I'm still building stuff, but at some point, I don't think I'll be satisfied until I'm doing my own thing. So having my own company, building what I want to build. And when I say my own company, maybe that's just me, right? Maybe that's, ideally it's not, because I have a few people in mind that I'd like to be building software with. But like, I don't think that I'll feel fulfilled until I have something of my own. Now, is that tomorrow? Is that 10 years from now? I don't know the answer to that. But I do have this feeling like that's on my list of things to do. In terms of actual career growth at, you know, in software companies right now, the trajectory that I've been feeling is that, like, I want to, you know, going from an IC to a manager role, one of the things for me was, like, I could feel that my impact was more broad. And I think that I have that same feeling where, like, I've been a middle manager for just under 13 years now. And that means that I have ICs reporting to me, but, like, because I've been a middle manager, I think I've been a manager for longer than my manager has been a manager, just to put that into perspective. Not saying I'm better or anything. He's definitely been in the software industry longer than I have, but I think I've been managing engineering teams longer than he has. Like, that's my entire career has been as a manager. So I am at the point where I'm like, it is a very logical progression for me to want to be leading other managers. So the role, at least at Microsoft, that's called a group engineering manager. Now, the reality is that's tied to also, like, level advancements. I actually don't know when that starts. Like, I'm at the principal level. You can be a principal group engineering manager, but I think that's at least the next level above me, at least. So I would minimally have to be promoted. I don't know if I have to be promoted twice. But, like, my manager is a group engineering manager, but also at the partner level. So he's multiple levels ahead. So I don't exactly know where group starts, but this is just at Microsoft, right? And different companies are called different things. Like, I think at Amazon, it's just a senior engineering manager is, I think, and I haven't worked there, so I don't know. I think that's the first sort of tier where you can be a manager of managers, but that's kind of the progression I see in the direction I would like to be heading. And I would say, in terms of, like, am I on the right path? Am I second-guessing career choices? No, but I think the longer that I stay a middle manager, the more I question, am I in the right spot? That's probably how I would put that. Because if I'm still a middle manager and not progressing further, despite having all of this experience as a middle manager, I'm like, when does the next step come, right? Like, so that's kind of on my mind. Okay, I think one of the major things I wanted to call out, and this is a hard one for me because, like, my brain doesn't work this way, but I've also mentioned before on these videos, I like to call out different perspectives, right? So I truly believe what I'm about to say, but, like, I would have a hard time convincing myself, and as a result, it might be hard to convince the audience. But I am a believer that switching careers is totally okay. Totally, I want to say it's totally a normal thing for people to consider. I have seen a lot of it go the other way, right? I've interviewed people on my main channel, Dev Leader. I'm not super actively doing it just because I've been so overwhelmed with other stuff, but there's a podcast there where I interview other engineers, other managers, and one of the things that I always get people to discuss is like their career journey. And there are many people I've interviewed on that podcast that are career switchers, right? Which means, if it's not obvious, what it means is people picked a path and they said, I'm doing this when I grow up. And then they start doing it, and either they don't like it right away or they like it for a bit and they're looking like something comes up and then they're like, I want to switch to be a software developer. So that is not like, it's not like that doesn't happen. What's going on with my GPS here? Sorry, my GPS is like very wrong. I don't know how else to say it, but anyway, hopefully it fixes itself. Now, you could make the same argument the other way, right? And even if it seems extreme to be like, oh, I'm going to go into a whole different profession, it's not super rare even to stay in the software realm, but to go into adjacent roles. Like, I know a lot of people see manager as like a promotion from like a software engineering role. It's a different role. And the same thing with a product manager or a project manager. Those are adjacent roles. It's not necessarily, I mean, it could be a promotion if your level's going up alongside it, but it's just a different role. And if you think about it, you could be a project manager at a software company, but if you were a really good project manager and you're like, I don't want to work in the software industry anymore, like you could go work in a different industry as a project manager. Same as a product manager. Technically the same as an engineering manager, right? There's a lot of domain knowledge in software that's obviously very helpful in software roles or software adjacent roles, but you could go take, that experience and bring it to a different industry for sure. So I wanted to kind of make sure that I included in this video that if at any point you're like, oh man, did I totally screw up and like I shouldn't be in software, like, I mean, that would kind of suck. I don't want anyone to feel that way, but it's not like you ruined your save game and you have to like restart and you're like, I can't restart, this is life. It's just like, I think at the end of the day, and I try to mention this in other videos too, right? Like, I think at the end of the day, it's your career, and I know that, having an income, putting food on the table, having a, roof over your head is important to be able to support your family, but I think if you're not enjoying what you're doing, at least for the bulk of your time that you're going to be working, I think that that's probably a recipe for, I don't want to say failure, but a recipe for an unhappy life. So I do try to encourage people, like, give it consideration. It's not, you didn't fail if you're like, I think that I want to do something else now, right? It's like, that's okay. Come on, let me in here. Yeah, I just want to like say that. I feel like people need to hear it more. And the reason I kind of prefaced what I was saying with what I did was like, I know I would have a hard time convincing myself of that. I get it. Right? If I was like, I'm going to go back and I'm going to be a software developer, like I'm going to be an IC, no more management. I'm sure part of me would be very conflicted over that, being like, did I waste all that time being a manager? Like, what if I would have just kept my head down and kept writing code? Like, wouldn't I have been so much further ahead in my career? Like, what if? And it's like, it's just not helpful, right? Not with that kind of framing, right? If you're going to use a what if situation to dwell on things, I don't think that that's healthy. So Like if you want to use what ifs to say what it could be, and that's like motivating and exciting for you, then sure, but not to dwell on it, because you're not going to change anything, right? It's just not going to do anything beneficial for you. Okay, so I don't know if there was another part to that question. Maybe there was something else I said earlier, or I was like, oh, we'll make sure we can talk about that. I wanted to talk about career switchers, wanted to talk about uncertainty that I've had. You guys are very patient with me, thank you. I think maybe something else to consider too is like, probably the really common one that I'm hearing over the past year is people like up and coming software developers that are getting into, they're going through college, university, or whatever, they're spending time, and what's happening is they're looking in the media and seeing all of the, like software developers are going to be the first people to be replaced by AI. And it's like, now these people are like, dude, I'm in my 4th year of college or university, and you're telling me like my job's going to be obsolete. And then they see the job market and they're like, and no one's getting hired. It must be because AI, like, oh no, the prophecy has come true. Like, what am I going to do? And I've seen people posting this on Reddit. I've seen people in my video comments. I've seen people on my live streams. People are freaking out about this. And like, I don't blame them. Honestly, I don't blame them, because you have media trying, like, news is absolutely awful. It's so bad because it's always just about getting attention. That's the entire purpose of it, right? You don't make news because you're just trying to like help inform people. No, news is a business. Trying to get money. How do they get money? They get money from ads. How do they get people to look at ads? Well, you got to click on the thing. You're going to click on the thing if it scares the shit out of you. People click on stuff like that. So it works, right? This is the same thing with like YouTube thumbnails and stuff. I know a few of us have joked in the comments about, on this channel at least, I'm not doing much for thumbnails and titles and stuff, right? Like, but on my main channel, you'll see me making dumb faces and stuff like that because people click it. There's just data that proves that people click that stuff. People will click clickbait titles that get them triggered, and then they get pissed off. They're like, you tricked me into clicking this. And it's like, yes, because it literally works. Get mad at human psychology. So I don't blame junior developers and stuff for getting into this mode where they're like, did I just screw up like my education, and like my entire career path is now thrown off because I just wasted 4 years doing this? Like, I got behind the wrong van here, man. This is brutal. So yeah, don't blame them for it, but you have the news that's doing that. Then you'll have these companies that are like, we've already replaced our engineers with AI, and it's like, okay, like definitely not buying whatever you're creating because good luck with that. It's just like people are too much on the bandwagon, and that one I can't see that backfiring at all. But the reality is, like, the stuff's advancing very fast. But I've made videos on this. I will keep saying, like, until something is so dramatic or I see a different trend. But I do not foresee that AI is directly replacing software developers anytime soon. Right? So it's a really difficult thing to try and communicate to these other people because that message is not a sexy message. It's not scary. It's not exciting. Right? I have people that will join a stream or leave comments and they'll say, I'm doomed. I'm cooked, as the kids say. I'm cooked. No cap, for real. On God or something. And then I'm like, hey, no, here's my perspective on this. I've been at this for a while, and I think everything's gonna be pretty all right until basically every single role in the world is replaced by AI and robots. And I think we got some time. And they're like, no, I don't believe anything you have to say, just whatever the news says, because it's scary. And I'm like, okay, sure, that's fine. I can only do so much. So yeah, I mean, if people want to be afraid about it, I guess that's their choice. But I have been trying my best to remind people that there's still, I think, a lot of runway for software developers. I know I've even heard a couple people saying they think it's the opposite, right? Where it's like the demand for software developers will go up. I think that's an interesting take. I just think the landscape for software development is going to change, but that doesn't mean that it goes away or that software developers aren't needed, personally. So for the people that, if you're going through college, university, or you're finishing up a boot camp and you're going, oh man, did I totally screw up here? I think the answer is no. I think if you like doing this kind of stuff, then you're absolutely in a great spot. Keep on keeping on. You found something you enjoy. You're hopefully good at it. It's a good combo. Do it. That would be my recommendation. I'm not panicking, right? What happens if, shouldn't I be panicking if all the software developers are replaced? Why do you need a manager? Who am I going to manage? Right? AI bots don't need promotions and career progression. They don't have interpersonal conflicts and stuff like that. So what am I doing? But I'm not panicking. I'm not concerned that I'm just going to lay off my entire team and say, sorry, ChatGPT's here. I got Copilot. Like, it's just not happening. So that's my take. If you don't want to believe it, that's okay too. I only got so much energy. I'm not going to convince the internet. I'm just here to share my perspective. But I am at the office. I'm going to get parked here. That was a fun talk. Kind of ranty. Wow, it's very busy in here. Why is it so busy? Really? Oh my god. Okay, let's see. Oh, this one is maybe... Nah, I'm gonna go back. Sorry that you have to see this. There's spots, but like, they're all terrible. They're all terrible. And there's this Jeep that's beside me that's like huge. And if I park inside the lines, I can't explain this, but like the spots here are absolutely outrageous. Like, this person can't open their door to my right without digging me. It's impossible. And the only reason there's space between me and this Jeep is because they're at the end and they're smart and they parked over the line the other way. Anyway, thanks for being here. I appreciate you, and I'll see you next time. Take care.